What's up, YouTubers? I got something pretty exciting today. I've got 4 packs of 2001 Topps American Pie, Baby Boomers, and Baseball Edition. These are hobby packs. Picked them up on eBay for $3 a pack, and for something I've never opened before and something this cool, I thought, what the heck? Let's go for it. This is baseball legends and pop culture icons of the 60s and 70s. We've got Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra memorabilia, as well as your baseball players, Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. I don't know too much about this set other than this was kind of the inaugural Topps foray into having non-sports cards mixed in with, obviously, sports players. So we'll see what we get out of these. I like the packaging alone with Elvis and Willie Mays on there and psychedelic colors there in the background, and American Pie is obviously a reference to Don McLean's 1972 world famous song American Pie. Of course, the horrible trilogy of movies that followed in the late 90s and early 2000s of the same name. I don't know too much about Don McLean other than his one American Pie hit song. I know Denny McLain won 31 games for the Tigers in 1968 and was the Cy Young and MVP of the American League. And in the National League, Bob Gibson was the Cy Young and MVP winner in the National League, like I just said. It's the first time in history that pitchers in both leagues won the Cy Young and MVP, and it has not been done since. I know John McClane thwarted terrorists in 1987 at the Nakatomi Building. Those are that's the more famous McClane that I know. John McClane, New York police officer. So anyway, let's go ahead and bust open these and we see what we get. Buying a little group of 4 hobby packs like this, I'm not expecting any relics or anything. These are probably fairly easily searched, so hopefully we'll get lucky and pull an autograph or something. Relics and autos are 1 in 10 packs. I did read the odds on the back. I don't know anything about the checklist. I purposely didn't even look them up because I want to be surprised and see what we get. So, but let's go ahead and open up this first pack, and we'll see if we get lucky. The reference in the song American Pie to the day the music died was referring to the famous plane crash, I think it was in 58 or 59, that killed Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper. And him referencing the day the music died was actually the first time that anyone had used that to describe that plane crash, and it has since, it's been known, that plane crash has been known as the day the music died. So there's a conspiracy theory that Buddy Holly actually faked his death and became an actor and actually betrayed himself in the biography of the same name, the Buddy Holly story, and then later played a crazy guy in Lethal Weapon and a down-and-out pitcher burnout in the Rookie of the Year. But I don't know if any of that's true, but I do like a good conspiracy. So, all right, right off the bat, we got Boog Powell. Front is kind of bland. We got the American Pie logo there on the top, and we got looks like just a collage of photo players down the side. Looks like Raleigh Fingers there, Frank Robinson, Nolan Ryan, can't quite tell them all, Schmidt there at the bottom, Stan Musial, maybe Roger Maris, Yogi Berra down there in the bottom right corner. So, all right, Boog Powell, my first card. They're kind of thick cards. I thought that was 2 cards there, but that's just 1. Carlton Fisk with the Red Sox. Obviously, we're going to have 60s and 70s players here. There's Frank Robinson, Hall of Famer, recently deceased, rest in peace. My first non-sports card, we've got the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. That's pretty cool. I did see the movie, was it 13 Hours, with Kevin Costner about that way back. I don't even remember what year that came out, but I remember it being a pretty decent movie, even though I only saw it one time. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Young Don Sutton before his hair got gray and froey in the back with the Dodgers. He was one of the pitchers that gave up one of Reggie Jackson's 3 consecutive home runs in the 77 World Series. I think it was him, Charlie Huff, and one other pitcher. I can't remember who it was. Gave up the 3 straight home runs to Reggie, Mr. October. We got Whitey Ford, the Yankees, and Vida Blue, who is throwing an imaginary baseball. All right, so that was pack number 1. All baseball players with 1 Cuban Missile Crisis card. Let's see, is that an insert? Nope, part of the base set. So that's pack number 1 of American Pie. I'll just let them fall back there. Pack number 2. I want to pull the Elvis Presley rookie card. Let's let my camera focus there. Pack number 2. We've got Jack Morris. I guess he qualifies as a 70s baseball player because his rookie year was in 77, if I remember correctly. We got Tony Kubek. I don't know much about Tony Kubek other than it looks like he played for the Yankees. And we've got the Iran hostage crisis, which barely made it into the 70s, 79 to 81. I remember they made a collage of what happened during the Iran hostage crisis for all the hostages once they got released, and the big highlight of the video was the Team USA hockey team beating the Russians for gold in the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid. So, Iran hostage crisis. Hopefully there's a write-up on the back. I'll read all those later because I am kind of a historian nerd. So, all right, Frank Sinatra playing the piano there. I always remembered the Frank Sinatra, what was that skit on Saturday Night Live? It was Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy acting like Stevie Wonder. That's what it was. That's a good skit. Check that out. Pretty funny. Bobby Richardson, the Yankees. Don't know too much about Bobby Richardson. Warren Spahn. I do know he's the winningest left-handed pitcher in baseball history. And Orlando Cepeda in front of a packed house there. I don't know what stadium that is. Let's see the backs of these. No career statistics, but it breaks down their 60s and 70s and then has their career with a write-up. So, pretty interesting. Breaking it down by the decades. Pack number 2. Pack number 3. I remember the American Pie movies. I did see all those in the theater, unfortunately. Those have not aged well. Those are pretty bad. I saw American Pie not that long ago. Watched about half of it, and I was like, this is bad. This isn't as good as I remember seeing it in 1999. Maybe I've just grown up a little bit. But we got Frank Howard of the Los Angeles Dodgers there. Frank Howard. Don't know too much about Frank Howard. I know he was a pretty good power hitter back in the 60s. So, we got George Foster, part of the Big Red Machine, and the only guy in the late 70s that hit 50 home runs in a season. I think he hit 52 in 1977, I think. And until Cecil Felder hit 51 in 1990, those were the only 2 guys that hit 50 home runs for almost a decade and a half. So, Harmon Killebrew. He's actually the silhouette on the Major League Baseball logo, the MLB logo right there. If you can see that through the shine. I can't even get it to pick up. There it is. That's rumor is that's Harmon Killebrew there on that logo. So if you didn't know that, mind blown. El Presidente, Denny Martinez, looking very young and straight off the boat. Dale Murphy, one of my favorite guys from the early 80s. Back-to-back MVPs. Should be in the Hall of Fame. If he could have just hit 2 more home runs, he would have been part of the 400 home run club, but he ended his career with 398, unfortunately. Bruce Sutter, one of the great closers of the late 70s and early 80s, sporting some kind of fro going on there. And Dave Concepcion, shortstop for the Big Red Machine. Good fielding shortstop. Wasn't that much of a hitter. As you can tell, his arms look like they weigh about 3 pounds. So that was pack number 3. I don't think I've pulled any kind of insert or numbered card or anything. So again, when you buy a handful of hobby packs, you're going to get the few that are left over after all the inserts have been pulled. So, but I don't mind seeing these cards for the first time. Maybe I'll look into seeing if there's a set of these available. Although I actually prefer pulling the non-sport cards out of these, to be honest with you. All right, we got Fergie Jenkins, Hall of Famer. Fergie. The Motown Sound, 1959 to 1971. I guess that's where they recorded Motown, out of that house there. I'll read the back of that later. We got President Nixon after his after he resigned and before he got on to, I guess, Air Force One, or the car to take him to Air Force One, him doing his famous, I don't even know, hand gesture, whatever you call that. At least he didn't show us all that we were number 1. And then we got Al Kaline, think he still holds numerous records in the hits categories for Detroit Tigers. Hits, doubles, home runs, RBIs. Big Daddy Rick Russell with the Cubs. I remember him in the having a career resurgence in the late 80s with the Giants. Started the All-Star game in '89 and led the Giants to the World Series. That was the famous Quake series. Bay Bridge World Series with the A's and Giants, with the A's sweeping the Giants. To my brother's dismay, I was an A's fan. He was a Giants fan growing up. We got Nolan Ryan with the Angels. And Sam McDowell rounding out my American Pie packs. So that's a pretty neat set. I do like those. Unfortunately, getting 4 random hobby packs with all the good stuff already pulled out of them. It's pretty much what I expected. I wish I would have pulled a few more of the pop culture icons rather than just the baseball players. Maybe those are shorter print. But anyway, I enjoyed opening those. I hope you guys did too. And we will see you next time.